Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into another edition of Slo Ur Roll. We are back with our full cast. Jesse Caulfield, back in the house.
All two of us.
All two. Well, listen, I was solo last week.
Yeah.
It was just me.
Yeah, there was snow.
I am so lonely.
Still there.
I was so lonely. You know what was great, though? That Super Bowl.
It was okay.
I mean, it was great watching KC get curb stomped.
Yes, the game itself
Yeah, no, the game itself was not good.
was not that interesting.
Yes. But it was funny and entertaining to watch.
Yes.
So we will obviously, listen, this is the Super Bowl wrap-up show. That is going to be 90% of this show is talking the Super Bowl, what it means, where the teams go from here, how we came to this point, particularly when it comes to the Eagles and Howie Roseman. I have talked about this, but I will talk about it again because I'm sure everyone forgot the story because it was a while ago where I mentioned how Howie and the Eagles got to this point. But Alex Bregman signed with the Red Sox, so we will discuss that. And is there anything else? Myles Garrett, of course. And we will do, now that the NFL season is over, we will do our top 10 quarterback rankings for right now. This is not drafting a team. This is not about the future. This is just right now. You know, if you had to take a quarterback for this season or next season or whatever it is, but for right now, keywords. All right. But with that, I will pan it over to Yaki Way reporter Jesse Caulfield to get us started. Take it away, Jesse.
Thank you. I mean, I guess this conversation is a little bit dampened by that pitiful performance in the Super Bowl from Patrick Mahomes. But it's not, I mean, it's not all his fault. Like, there was only so much he can do in that game. But, you know, that game, I guess, ended a conversation. But I'm gonna continue it slightly. So, like, the more I watch Patrick Mahomes, and he's great, so talented, blah, 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 wins all the games. But then the more I watch him do that, the more I watch him just win again and again and again, the more I just think to myself, my God, Tom Brady really is just the best to ever do it. Like, undisputed at this point. What am I talking about? Well, again, reiterate, Patrick Mahomes, he's great, so talented. He might even be on that top 10 quarterbacks list. He might have cracked that list, guys. But no, he's the best. He's the best right now. And, you know, he's in the Super Bowl every year. And so, like, that makes me, in my mind, be like, wow, Tom Brady's the best. He did. And it's not even about, like, the stats. I could list all these records Tom Brady has, most of this, most of that. He's the only one to do this. He's done this the more than anybody else. Blah, blah, blah. Most championships, most touchdown passes, most effing everything in terms of at least quarterbacks. But no, it's not about that. I don't really care about the individual stats in this conversation. We could have that conversation, but like it's a little not fair actually to go there because Tom Brady played for 30 years and Patrick Mahomes still in year 6, something like that as a starter, 5, 6, 7, something like that. So that's not really comparable. That's not fair. So looking at just winning and the competition, that's what it really comes down to me. And it's not like Patrick Mahomes is taking on losers. Although I do feel and have said several times that I feel like the talent and competition level in the NFL today is not what it was 10.
No, it's not talent. It's 90% of it is coaching.
A little bit. All right. The play across the league is lackluster, in my opinion, compared to what it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. Just the X's and O's just don't seem to be there. All right, you're right. Some of the talent level, you know, because of the athletics and training, nutrition, yeah, sure, it's reached higher levels, blah, 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 blah. But who is Patrick Mahomes beating to get to these Super Bowls every year? I mean, Josh Allen. He's good. There's some great games between those two. But a lot of times, the conversation post-game from those matchups, especially the playoff ones, a lot comes down to not Patrick, not Josh, Sean McDermott. And now again, credit to Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, the Chiefs for always having the X's and O's, always being well coached enough, always being prepared to take advantage of that situation. But goddamn, do the Bills love to present them with many opportunities. They beat the Ravens this year. Lamar, multiple-time MVP, but Like I have eyeballs. I've seen them in the playoffs. It's not comparable. You know, that week 1 matchup this year was a hell of a better game to watch, hell of a more even fight than that playoff matchup. Almost like the big games get to someone like Lamar Jackson. Credit for Patrick Mahomes, again, for not letting the big game and the big moment get to him. Someone like Tom Brady. You know, he beat Joe Burrow. I mean, I know they're like 500 in the playoffs, 1-1, but, you know, what have you done for me lately? Patrick Mahomes. But, like, you know, it's maybe one guy. You know, the story of that win against Joe Burrow was not so much like, wow, Patrick Mahomes really took it to Joe Burrow and the Bengals this time. No, it was a late penalty out of bounds and where Patrick got pushed.
Mm-hmm. Also, the Bengals are a second-tier organization.
You know, he beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I realized they just got back at him, but, you know, a couple years ago, he played well in that Super Bowl, blah, 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 blah. But it's Jalen Hurts, and I'm still not that high about Jalen Hurts. Asterisk, because I was one of the first people to say Jalen Hurts will be a serviceable NFL quarterback. Anyway, who did Tom Brady have to play and beat like every time? Peyton Manning? Like every time. And if it wasn't Peyton, it was the Steelers. And while Tom Brady and Bill Belichick really, really knew how to take it to the Steelers, I mean,
it's a way better organization than the Bengals.
100%. And you know what they always have every year, still to this day? Some damn good defenses with some damn fine personnel in that defense. It used to be, you know, Troy Polamalu, that guy, and now it's TJ Watt. But it's changed a little bit, but like it's still emphasis on defense, as it kind of always has been for the Steelers since like the Steel Curtain days. And Tom Brady, several times through different eras of his dominance, you know, original dynasty, going to Pittsburgh and absolutely trouncing a 15-1 Steelers team. Oh, it was a rookie Ben Roethlisberger. I don't care. They were an incredible team. And they were the team that beat the Patriots on Halloween night to end their 21-game win streak. Anyway, he also has to face, I may have said Peyton Manning several times across several eras. He had to face the Colts, whether it be Peyton Manning or not. And I realize in the Luck era, my God, did the Patriots just know how to take it to that team, especially in the run game. But again, I'm going to give credit to Tom for never making a mistake in any of those games, always playing it perfect, and being a team player in those games. Super Bowls, those Super Bowls. You know, Patrick Mahomes has actually overcome a 10-point deficit. All 3 of his Super Bowl wins.
Yes.
All 3 of them. That's very impressive.
It is.
Very impressive. Because actually before Super Bowl 49, Patriots Seahawks, the biggest deficit ever overcome in a Super Bowl was 7 points. It didn't happen. These things didn't happen. Now that Tom Brady was the first to do 10 points, then he did 25 just for the hell of it. But Patrick Mahomes, he always makes these comebacks. But again, when I look at this Chiefs team, and I'm not going to say the Patriots weren't like this. They were a team through and throughout. Some great defenses, great coach, great personnel. You can argue that like Brady wasn't thrown to the greatest players, but like he made it work. He also had great lines. So again, Patrick Mahomes has all these things. But when I look at this Chiefs team, there is no single game in these playoffs where I'm like, my God, did Patrick Mahomes take over that game and guarantee that no matter what happens, the Chiefs were not going to lose. I can think of several Super Bowl playoff where Tom Brady was just like, I'm not losing this effing game. 28-3.
Yeah.
The Seahawks. You know, that first Super Bowl, although they were winning most of the game, it was the Rams who came back. What was the announcer saying? The late, great John Madden, going into that final drive to win the game. Play for overtime, knee it, run the clock, play for overtime. Tom Brady said, I don't want to play anymore. I want to go home. We're winning this game, fellas. And then he did it again 2 years later against the Panthers. And again, Patrick Mahomes has come back. He's made the plays when he's need to make. There's no standout play. Maybe a drive against the Eagles to win it. That drive kind of stands out to me as like the definitive Patrick Mahomes playoff drive. Brady has 10 of them.
Yes.
And Brady had several by the time he is Patrick Mahomes' age right now against better defenses, against better coach teams, against better quarterbacked teams. No offense, Josh and Joe. But that's just the case. And the more I watch Patrick Mahomes proved that, yes, he is head and shoulders above the competition that he's currently playing with. You know who he couldn't beat?
Yeah, he couldn't beat Tom.
He could not beat Tom.
Never did.
In the playoffs. Yeah, there was that one Buccaneers-Chiefs game in the regular season. But
yeah, that's why.
To be honest, that really helped in the Super Bowl, seeing him that one time. But again, like, Tom Brady just is the best.
Yeah. For sure. I don't think there's any denying it. And, I think the biggest thing, I mean, we can talk about competition and all that. I don't like doing that because you sound sometimes like an old guy. Like, oh, they were so much better back in the day. Though I do think it's unquestionable that coaching was better back then, and Tom has even talked about this. And I know why. It's because the billionaires are running out coaches all the time because they're impatient and they can just write these checks off and move on, which they couldn't do 10, 15 years ago as much. But it's the getting blown out for a second time in a Super Bowl that does it for me. And
I was going to have this conversation before that.
And we want to make excuses. Well, no, I mean, listen, I already thought the argument was dumb. I thought it was premature. Yes, if Patrick had three-peated, that's something Tom hadn't done. Tom has plenty of things that Patrick hadn't done yet, so that doesn't mean that Mahomes is now better than him. But it at least was a feather in the cap of, okay, he's getting there. He's getting to the point where at some point in the near future, we may have to have a conversation. But that is dead. He's got to win. He's got to get 7 rings now to me.
Yeah.
Because you've now been blown out in 2 Super Bowls. Tom never played this bad in even 1. And this one was especially bad. Like the Tampa one, I really watched it, and I was like, Pat, you could have been a little bit better, but you really had no chance. He didn't really turn the ball over or make like mistakes. No, this one, he actively lost them the game too. Now they wouldn't have won it probably either, but the one to Cooper DeJean, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
Like I know Tom has thrown pick sixes in Super Bowls.
Yeah.
The Falcons one, he just didn't see the guy, but it took a very good play by the defender to undercut the route.
Yeah.
The Mahomes one was collegiate. There was nothing there, kid. You're trying to throw back across your body in a tight coverage. Cooper DeJean's right there, pick 6, and then he does it, 2 drives later, backed up in the shade of his own end zone.
I'll defend him with the Cooper DeJean one.
Why?
He was seeing ghosts. A white cornerback downfield, gotta be a ghost.
Yeah, but if you look at where he was throwing it to, that guy wasn't even really even open either.
No.
So it was just bad all around. And again, Tom, this never happened to Tom. And I do see, like Portnoy made his emergency press conference talking about it. Tom would have found a way. I'm not going to go as far as saying Tom, if you put him on that KC team, would have won the game. Because I did think it was pretty suspect that KC was even there to start with. I mean, Chris Jones is getting owed. Kelsey is a shell of himself. They had lost their left tackle. Like, this is not a great roster.
Kelsey's getting torched.
Their number 1 wide receiver tore his knee up before the season. But I know Tom would have found a way to move the chains and make it competitive. There's no question. And it annoys me when we have these conversations. Who's like, well, Patrick can do things that Tom could never do. And it's like, physically, yes, but you're not getting, there are things Tom could do that Pat can't. They never adjusted. I didn't see Pat audibling at the line. I didn't see Tom within 2 drives into that game would have known we are in trouble today. Whatever we were going to do, we're going to cut down the routes by 5 yards. If I have to throw it to Isaiah Pacheco or Kareem Hunt 15 times today, that's what we're going to do.
James White.
But it was as if Andy and Pat just kept running the same play over. And this is what they did in the Tampa game too. So clearly, and I've gotten on Kyle Shanahan about this, like he is so tied to that play sheet, he's so tied to his game plan that he can't pivot. Andy and Pat don't look like they can pivot that well either now. And that's what I mean. Like Tom, yes, Pat can do things that Tom couldn't, but Tom's superpower was he never had to do that kind of stuff. 1, because he physically couldn't, but 2, he wouldn't snap the ball if he didn't know where the ball needed to go. We have the correct play for what I think is happening, or at least we don't have a disastrous play for what's happening. I will make sure before this ball is snapped, we are not in worst case scenario. And Pat doesn't do that. I barely saw him audibling. I swear to God, they never cut down the routes. They started running the ball late again, but the game was kind of already in hand. And again, it's like they never cut down the routes. It's like they never went to a second pitch. There was no answer for anything. That was the most disappointing thing. And that was also, again, the thing that when people start, well, Tom couldn't make these plays. Tom couldn't make a throw horizontal to the ground like he did in the Tampa Super Bowl. It's like, yes, but Tom never got himself into those situations. Tom's superpower was at the line of scrimmage. I will make sure we always have the advantage.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll give him that. Patrick Mahomes is a more talented person.
Oh, he
than
definitely
Tom
is.
Brady.
Oh, he definitely is.
But no one ever made the argument, even in Tom Brady's day, that he was the most talented guy.
No, that's why there used to be talk that maybe Aaron's better.
Yes, because he was
more talented.
He could move the pocket better.
He also had a better arm.
He could throw.
Not that Tom ever had a bad arm, but like Aaron's got a special arm.
No. Well, that's the thing. Tom, because of the offense, the Patriots ran very safe, very methodical, wearing down defenses. Tom never really got to light it up the way he truly wanted to.
I mean, he did Tampa.
He did in Tampa, and when Randy Moss was here, he got to. But that's the thing. Watch him in Tampa. Watch him in 2007 with Moss. My God, he wants to throw the ball down the field like no one else.
He can. I'm not saying he can't, but yeah, I mean, that was the thing to me that was one, the most disappointing, and one, the more glaring thing why this can't be a conversation anymore. And the thing that people keep getting wrong every time they have this conversation. Because you guys want to talk about what Pat can do that Tom can't. You guys don't realize what Tom did that Pat clearly cannot do. And what it seems like almost anyone in this league is like not really able to do.
No one has ever done.
No. Peyton was close. Peyton kind of could. It's just then Peyton didn't have Tom's arm strength. Peyton clearly just didn't have Tom's clutch factor. But like Peyton and Tom were kind of equal at the line.
That's the thing. Peyton was,
actually, you know what? Drew Brees was too.
Oh, Drew Brees was great.
Yeah.
I love Drew Brees. But like Peyton was more of, I'm going to beat you from the drop. Mm-hmm. And if I'm going to stay ahead, I can't remember any like great Peyton Manning comebacks. Like, no, usually when they were losing, they just kind of faltered. Mm-hmm. But like they were so good from the first drive. The script was so perfect from the gate. And then Peyton was so smart and so, just so smart. Yeah. You could never get back in it. He would never make a mistake to get you back in the game.
Yeah.
But Tom was always like, I'm never out of it. I'm a psycho. I will find a way. Mm-hmm. And that's where Peyton and Tom was different.
And I don't like, people are always like, how do you know Tom would have made this competitive? Because I saw the Legion of Boom blow out Peyton Manning in a Super Bowl 1 year before Tom got there.
Yeah.
And it was rough for Tom. And it was hard. And he had bad quarters.
I never mentioned
And that defense was great. But he found a way to keep drives alive, move the chains in the second half, and in the end, he won the game. So don't tell me that I don't know that Tom would have moved the chains and made this competitive. I know Tom would have. Mm-hmm. Because you can't tell me the Eagles are better than the Legion of Boom. And they are good. They are damn good. And they were whooping KC up front. Also, but like I said, it's like KC ran the same play over and over again. They never told their wide receivers to cut down on rights. They never adjusted to anything.
Also, that Seahawks Super Bowl, like Russell Wilson was the prime talk of the town QB in that time.
Yes.
And actually, there was a stat I saw, and I was confused by it for a second because I was like, that's not true. But I did look. It is true. Tom Brady in the fourth quarter for all 10 of his Super Bowls in the fourth quarter walked off the field with a lead at one point.
Yeah, I saw that.
The one that confused me was the Eagles' loss.
Yeah.
But there was a 1 point lead in the Super Bowl that they had in the fourth quarter at one point.
Yeah.
Next drive, it disappeared because the defense couldn't stop anything. But it was true in all 10 Super Bowls. At one point, Tom Brady walked off the field as the leading quarterback in the final quarter.
Yeah. And then the final thing is, what? So Pat's now lost 2 Super Bowls by a combined, 40-something points?
Yeah.
Tom lost 3 Super Bowls by a combined 15 points. Like, he lost on Tyree catches on your helmet.
Yeah.
He lost on never punting on a single drive of his team, but his own team couldn't stop anything. And a guy hitting his arm when he's trying to go down to the fourth quarter again for a comeback win.
Yeah.
Which, great play.
That was the one
took
sack.
Herculean efforts to beat Brady in Super Bowls. Pat's been embarrassed now in 2.
Yeah.
And I was even willing to give him a mulligan on the first. There is no mulligan for this one. You were awful. And you're too long in the tooth now in this league for me to not go. You should have command of the of the X's and O's at the line of scrimmage to be able to check out of some of these. That you're not having to run around and throw across your body because you have the wrong play call. Or know that you need to adjust what you wanted to do today because your offensive line is getting worked.
Or pick up on those, I was going to say blitzes.
No, they didn't have to
even
blitz. No, they didn't have to blitz.
Pick up on who's coming.
And that's part of why when everyone's like, Tom would have found a way to win. I'm not saying Tom would have won this game. I don't know if Tom wins this game. But I know Tom would have found a way to keep the chains moving a little bit and be more competitive. Hell, they didn't cross the 50, I think, until like late in the third quarter.
Yes.
Do you know in the first half the Eagles had more penalty yards than KC had total yards?
That is funny. That one's funny.
Like embarrassing from start to finish. So, all right, we can pivot to more Super Bowl talk. I think what was going to be the first part of this was where was KC's second pitch, but I kind of feel like we've covered that.
A little bit.
I mean, unless we want to blister Andy Reid a little bit now.
Well, I've said for years that, like, I like Andy Reid. He's a great culture guy, outstanding locker room coach. The players clearly love him.
Oh, no, he's a great X's and O's offensive coach, too.
He's a very good one. But the book on Andy Reid back in the day before he got, the great equalizer and Patrick Mahomes was, man, is his clock. His clock management was like the worst in the league.
Yes, it was.
And late game adjustments weren't there.
Yes.
Like this is kind of what Andy Reid
used
to be known as.
Maybe adjustments aren't it.
It was a meme that like, wow, Andy Reid is like the worst clock managing guy ever to walk this earth. Okay. Like people at home could do a better job than Andy Reid back in the day. Mm-hmm. Having a guy that can go down the field in 15 seconds really helps that. But like, what is Andy Reid showed me that he learned? He never had to. He had Patrick Mahomes. But in a situation where he doesn't have Patrick Mahomes, he just bail him out. I see old Andy Reid. I guess he didn't need to manage the clock here. Mm-hmm. It never came down to that.
No.
But there was no adjustment.
Yes. There was no second pitch. There was no second idea.
Which was vintage Andy Reid.
They came into this game, I felt like, feeling like they weren't going to be able to run the ball and knew they had to be passing. But they never realized, like, wait a minute, if we just pass all the time, for the same reasons that we thought we couldn't run on them are going to be the same reasons we're going to get killed in the passing game if we just don't keep them honest at all, which they didn't at all. And then again, they never shorten the routes. Throw a screen. Use Pacheco or Hunt. Yeah. Hell, they did that all the time during the season and last season. Where the hell were they in the passing game?
Well, in that Falcons Super Bowl, the Patriots, like, how many catches did James White have? It was a Super Bowl record.
It was like 12.
They dumped it off to him 1,000 times. Mm-hmm. And that's what he had to do.
Yeah. No, I know.
As a kid, I'm a little bit away from now, but like, if ever I saw a positive play, a 1-yard run, I'm like, well, it's a positive play. Take the dump for a couple yards. Just take it.
I know.
Take the minimal gain.
I know.
It's not always going to be downfield.
Yeah.
You don't have to extend for another 10 seconds just in the hopes that someone downfield will get open. It's not happening, bro. It didn't happen all game.
No.
Stop running for your life.
Get rid of the ball. Get it out of your hands and live to see another down.
Call a play with a safety net.
I know. It's crazy. But anyway.
You know what? They probably did. And it was probably Kelsey. But the second he saw Patrick Mahomes break the pocket, he's like, well, it's over. I'm just going to stand here and pout. There's video of it online.
Yeah, he did not look good.
I'm guessing Kelsey was the safety. Mm-hmm. And every time he saw him break the pocket, he's like, "Nyeh." Mm-hmm. Like, that wasn't the play.
Adjust, though. Have Pacheco and Hunt be the safety. Come on, man.
Or I don't know. Call a screen to your really fast receiver, Hollywood Brown.
I do think this ends the Andy Reid talk, too, about being on Belichick's level. And actually puts him back tied with Bill Walsh.
Well, that's the thing. That's a lot of the talk online. It's like, oh, this conversation of Kelsey and Mahomes and Andy Reid, it's over. Not necessarily. Mahomes especially still has many years to rejuvenate this conversation.
I don't know if Andy does, but yes.
Andy is old. Probably not. Kelsey, no.
Kelsey's done.
It's over. I'm not saying he's done.
He's done.
But that conversation is over.
I think if KC was honest with themselves, I think if you could sit in a room with Veach and Andy and be a fly on the wall and have nobody else there, they're hoping Travis retires.
Maybe.
Because they can't cut him. because he's famous and the backlash would be too bad. But he's going to be still owed another $18 million, and he is a shell of himself. I think they'd rather save the $18 million and cap it because this roster needs some work, and we're going to get there essentially. But let's pivot to Howie Roseman and the Eagles. We'll talk about Jalen when we do our quarterback rankings. I'm sure we'll talk about it. But I want to give flowers, which I always do, to Howie Roseman. But I also want to take you guys back in time so we can talk about just how we got here with the Eagles. It was, I forget the draft year, but it was the same draft. It was the same draft as Justin Jefferson. And I'm not just talking out of my ass. Howie has admitted this. Howie has talked about this. I hate this thing.
You're trying to delay.
I know I am.
As much as possible, truly starting, but now you've run out of things to say.
I know. Well, no, I'm also just trying to get this thing to work, which I could. It's just I can't reach the video button. But you know what? It is.
Do you want me to walk around and press it for you?
No, because you're not going to be able to get it. All right. Can I use your thing? Or actually, let me use your water.
Oh.
It's always the water.
Harry, have you tried the water?
Harry, have you tried the water? The water always works. Or at least kind of. I still need the headphones, but you know, I love this downtown. Yeah. I love the downtown studio. I love everything about it. That's the only thing. It's now become harder for us to make our own videos here in the downtown than it was at the
Justin Jefferson was drafted in the 2020 draft.
2020?
Yeah, which makes sense because it was the draft where they're all at home.
Yes.
And like Bill was going to draft him, but the Vikings took him.
Yes.
Right after the Eagles took Jalen Reagor.
Well, that's exactly what this is about. You know what? It's not going to happen.
Are you going to give him credit for taking Reagor?
No, I'm not going to give him credit. That's okay. So here's what happened. I'm going to cut so much of this out when we do the thing.
That's fine.
Like in the actual podcast. But anyway.
Really, this was great.
Shut up. So here's how we got to this point. Howie Roseman took Jalen Reagor instead of Justin Jefferson. And Rick Spielman was live on the NFL draft when the camera panned to him, still laughing when it was their time to make the pick for Justin Jefferson. And that pick, that bust of a pick, made Howie sit down with his scouts, with his staff, with everybody there, and reevaluate how they do things. Because they said, I outthought the room. This guy went to LSU, he played in the SEC, and he dominated. We're overdoing this. What happens on film has to matter. What they did in college has to matter. We are overthinking the room. And they said, the best players go to Alabama and Georgia, and they mostly go to the SEC. And it also made him sit there and go, wide receiver can bust a lot. He already valued the line of scrimmage. It's not like John Lynch and the Niners philosophy, which is like they just think that they can, by scheme alone, they don't really need to invest in the offensive line because they can get it done by scheme. Howie was never that far. But it made him double down on it even more. They went, it doesn't matter what we think is there as a skill position when we're drafting. If we think there's someone on the line who's a difference maker, we are taking him over that. And what has it been since that draft? A lot of defensive linemen, a lot of Alabama, a lot of Georgia. I mean, that's been the running NFL meme joke. It's like, oh, he played at Georgia. He's going to go play for the Eagles. No doubt about it. But that pick is one of the singular moments that has made this Eagles roster and this Eagles team what it is today. Because Howie, after that bust, sat down and was like, we're overthinking this. We are going to change our entire philosophy on how we draft. And this has mostly been through the draft that the Eagles have made this. Now, because they've hit on so many picks, they've then been able to be very selective and go out and bring in free agents like Saquon Barkley, like making the trade for A.J. Brown to be able to bolster the roster. But it has all started with the draft. And it all circles back to that moment when they busted on something that bad and how he rethought the entire philosophy. And Howie's talked about this. So this is not, I'm not just coming up with theories. Like Howie has literally said why they do what they do. All comes down to that draft. So you got to give Howie Roseman an insane amount of credit And at a time where no one loves the passing game and no one loves the skill position more, and no one seems to be more than ever before trying to build from the outside in, Howie knows what it's about. And it's about the line of scrimmage first. We will figure out the outside later. We will make trades if we need to. That's the kind of thing we can do in free agency. But you got to build the line, and you have to build it cheaply, and you have to have multiple guys to do it. And the only way you can do that is through the draft. And that's the story of this team. Nick Sirianni, listen, clearly he's not as much of a doofus as I thought. I still don't think Sirianni is the reason why this team is good.
Doofus.
Jalen Hurts is really good for this team. I don't think he'd be that good almost anywhere else in the league. But he's a great fit for this team. But this starts with the defensive line and Howie Roseman.
All right.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, Howie. Great. I mean, I don't have that much to say about Howie.
I know.
If really anything. I guess credit.
I mean, the only thing to say about Howie is he is operating on a level so much higher than all the other GMs in this league right now.
All the other ones, yeah.
Who's on his level? Veach, I guess.
The Lions.
True. I would say the Lions.
They do. They got some good stuff going.
They do.
Bill Belichick.
Yeah, but Bill's not in the league anymore.
Yeah, I guess, trying to think of teams across the league that are like,
I think it's Veach. I think Veach is the only one. And as you said, the Lions one too has been pretty damn good. So I guess he's approaching that level right now.
What they got going on in Washington, D.C. is pretty good.
Yeah, but it's only been 1 year.
I guess. Yeah.
Sensational job, though. He has done an amazing job. There's no doubt about it. But, yeah, I mean, come on. Howie's the master. And I think I texted you this, because we were talking about competition and all that. And I said, Pat and Andy ain't going up against any masters anymore. Well, they went up against one in Philly. It's just wasn't the coach. It's the GM who built that roster, which is an insane roster, particularly for this day and age of salary cap league.
It's very good, and he's very good.
Mm-hmm.
I want to actually give him the most credit of, in which I said he was going to work. He said he was going to be a serviceable NFL quarterback. And getting Jalen Hurts, getting people to talk about Jalen Hurts like, wow, MVP.
He gets massive credit for that. Because he's had the balls and the lack of stubbornness to be like, it doesn't matter that I picked Carson Wentz. I think we might have a potential problem, and I have no problems maybe admitting that maybe I didn't exactly hit on this pick, and we're going to have a backup plan. Most GMs don't freaking do that. Hell, the Giants just paid Daniel Jones a new contract because they don't want to admit that they whiffed on the pick. He had the tiniest shred of success, and they're like, oh, there it is. There it is. We were right. We were right all along.
That's where I give him the most credit, though.
Okay.
Creating a system where a guy that can't really throw the ball is your quarterback, and you win games with him. And you actually, clearly Kenny Pickett comes in. Mm-hmm. And, there's a little bit of, camaraderie and stuff like that. Like, oh, that's not our starting quarterback. I don't know how well we're going to do. I don't have the chemistry with Kenny that I have with Jalen. That type of stuff. Obviously, Kenny can throw the ball better. Mm-hmm. So, in theory, he should be better. Mm-hmm. But no. Because they made it they crafted it specifically.
Yes.
For this guy that
can't this skill set.
This guy that can't throw the ball.
He can throw. He can. Do you know he had fourth?
That pick was awful.
Yeah, it was. Do you know he has the fourth most air yards, though, in the NFL this year?
Okay.
So most yards per passing attempt.
Okay.
So he can throw the ball. Particularly, he throws a good deep ball.
No, he wants to throw the ball.
No, he can throw a good deep ball. Like the Russell Wilson, lollipop, like that kind of throw.
Okay, but it can't be that far.
No, I know. He's not Josh Allen. He's not going to rip 145 yards, but he can throw a beautiful, with that touch on it, lollipop deep ball. Listen, we'll talk about Jalen. Jalen, they got to play a certain way. If you're asking him to throw the ball 35 times, you're not going to be successful.
He's helped very much by the skill set of A.J. Brown.
Oh, he definitely.
And Devontae Smith.
Oh, and Saquon.
Well, yes.
Because you have to respect Saquon in the box.
Yes, that does help. But ever since A.J. Brown got there, Like, that has opened up the downfield.
Yes. Which Howie recognized and did.
But it's not as
He made
downfield
that
to
move.
say it could have been.
No, I know.
If
I
there was
get
a guy
that.
that could throw the ball
But
there.
I think Jalen is perfect for that offense.
Well, because they crafted it for him.
Exactly. And so he's a lesser version of Russell Wilson, in my opinion, of when Russell was back in the day. And he's so much better when he uses his legs. He just seems like he doesn't want to as much in the regular season, which makes it part of why he plays so much better in the playoffs. But his elusiveness, his legs, his power, I mean, they run that tush push. He is part of the reason why that tush push works.
Yeah.
Because he is so strong.
He's got thunder thighs.
And also because he's a little shorter, so he's got that low center of gravity.
Yeah.
Like Josh Allen is just as powerful, but Josh has a hard time getting that low center of gravity that Jalen does.
Also, they do the same tush push. I mean, Jalen does, I guess, they do the same tush push every time, but it's right up the middle. Josh always wanted to go to the left.
Yes.
So they prioritize the left.
But watch, he doesn't get low enough either.
Sure.
Like Jalen can get so low because he's a shorter quarterback. You know, he's built like a little box Ford truck.
Yeah.
He's a little bowling ball. He's built like a running back, basically.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
So,
well, he's Lamar Jackson if he had poise.
no, because
If Lamar
Lamar is
had-
speed based.
Yeah.
Lamar's not
Listen, Lamar's better at everything except poise.
at power.
Yeah.
Jalen can do the power run. Lamar can't.
But like
Lamar
the power run is
completely
only for Jalen only does the power run for 1 yard runs.
Yeah. But it's a big reason why he's able to do it.
I guess.
Why it's so unstoppable. It's because he's so strong. And yes, Lamar is more talented, though.
He can throw better.
If you're going to
Run
ask me
faster.
who would I trust in a playoff game more,
Well, yeah, he's got poise.
I
Jalen's got poise.
might trust Jalen Hurts more than I would trust Lamar. But I don't know. All right. Next part. Talked about the brilliance of Howie. Let's talk about where the heck does KC go from here? Now, I'm not going as far as some people have. I feel like where they're saying the dynasty is dead. But it certainly has some major problems now. Because Travis Kelce looks like he's toast. Looks like he's done. They owe him $18 million till next year. Patrick, obviously, the quarterback making up a huge amount of money. Chris Jones, who got hurt in that Super Bowl, and I also thought started to look a little old in the playoffs. He's owed a ton of money. Your division has a young quarterback in Bo Nix that played well this year. They got Justin Herbert, and they have two of some of the best coaches, probably the best coaches in the NFL right now in it, in Jim Harbaugh and Sean Payton. So it's not going to be a free ride anymore in your division like it has been for the last 4 years. When you were going against Brandon Staley and Denver Broncos had Drew Lock and Trevor Siemian, and the Raiders are still a mess, obviously. But like, you don't just get a walkover in the division now anymore. You have real head coaches with a ton of experience who've won games. Jim Harbaugh's been to a Super Bowl. Sean Payton's won a Super Bowl. And Justin Herbert, we all agree, is one of the more talented quarterbacks in this league. So you got three guys who are super expensive. Two of them are starting to look like they could be done. At least Chris Jones isn't done yet, but he looks like, it's coming soon. Travis looks done. They do get Rashee Rice back, and he is, is a major injury, but he's young enough that maybe it won't matter. Today's medicine, all that kind of stuff. But Travis is such a huge part of what they do offensively, particularly when Patrick is improvising and running around and all that kind of stuff. Like, this is a long way back for KC. I don't really know what they're going to do. If they have the cap space, I would think that Myles Garrett would be an option because they saw the way that D-line can work, and they're going to have to step it up when they face guys like Burrow and Josh Allen and all that kind of stuff, and they don't have the offensive firepower anymore. But listen, they're gonna have to nail some draft picks. Worthy at least has become a good player for them, so that's something. But the offensive line getting a little older. It's been banged up the last 2 years. And like I said, the biggest thing is the competition in the division. They had a walkover before this year. They had a walkover for almost the entire time that Patrick has been there. The Chargers, Brandon Staley, Anthony Lynn. Denver was a mess. Russell Wilson, they tried, didn't work. and the Raiders are still a mess. Those days are gone. I'm not saying they're dead yet. They always have a fighting chance when they got Andy and Pat. It's going to be a lot harder to get back here than it has been the last couple of years, though I know that for sure. And they better hit on some picks or their dynasty is going to be over.
I don't know. I'm on the fence with this.
Okay.
Because, like, Patrick Mahomes, he's not even 30.
Mm-hmm.
That's shirt up. I mean, Worthy is... You see his stat line for the Super Bowl?
No.
8 catches, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Damn.
I realize a lot of that came in garbage.
It was.
The touchdowns.
Yeah.
But, like, if he was actually the one guy I would point to on KC that actually had a great, consistent playoff, it's that guy. It's Worthy. And he really actually, as the season went on, he really showed that, like, yeah, I'm getting this NFL thing. I'm really getting the hang of this thing. So that's a guy, you know,
And
Tyreek Hill, I don't know, but like...
No. I was just about to say, it's like Tyreek where it gives them the vertical element to the game again, where they haven't had that the last couple of years.
But then you also have, assuming he stays healthy, again, you now have Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
He's not old.
No.
He should be healthy and totally 100% next year, assuming he doesn't have another freak accident. Because like that wasn't even like, oh, it's a knee thing. No, he had a freak accident where he messed up his collarbone. Like that's not something I'd be worried about being a repeat injury. So like that's a damn good one too.
Yeah.
Pacheco is a good backfield guy. I'm not worried about that too much. You know, the line, you know, they really they're getting praised for that patch job with like putting Tooney on the left. Like, Tooney can play anywhere. It's like, listen, I watched Tooney too. He's great. But he's a lineman that's been around for a little while now.
He's not a left tackle.
He's not. And he was serviceable going into the playoffs, for the most part in the playoffs, but he's not a young man anymore who plays in the trenches, playing a position he's not used to playing. Come Super Bowl, he didn't have as much to give anymore. So I'm not really actually too concerned about the line yet. Travis Kelce, I guess. But he wasn't a huge factor in this team this year. In fact, the first couple weeks, he was a non-factor totally. It wasn't until the injuries started to pile up that they actually had to use him. And, you know, I watched Gronk in his older years, and he at least had the benefit of like, all right, he can't run the routes as well anymore. You know, he's not going to run by anyone. He can't jump as high anymore. So, man, we'll just have him block. And the more that happens, when we actually have him shed the block and go out for a pass, it's disguised better. Travis Kelce, in his old age, attempted to become a blocking tight end this year. And it was one of the saddest things I've ever seen. I don't know where he goes from here. You know, maybe he can reinvent himself this offseason. He's not over the hill. He showed some moments this year. And, you know, maybe as the season went on, his age started to show. You know, you can't go to the Super Bowl 3 straight years and expect no repercussions. That's a lot of games. That's a lot of practices, more than anyone else has had in that time.
You are way more optimistic on him than I am because I think he looked officially cooked in that Super Bowl. He looks slow. He's not even 35 years old.
He can be kind of cooked and still play, and I'm not even that concerned. The cap hit being that high and that cooked, all right, that's concerning. But the Chiefs are still showing that they have a lot they can work with on offense. They still have the best mind in defense in Spags. Now, they ran one of the weirdest plays I've ever seen. Like, you saw why Jones got hurt, right?
I forget now.
The dumbest lineup I've ever seen on the tush push. They had him line up like sideways, so he'll shove his back into the center. The tush push. Now they showed the first tush push, and they're like, "This is how Chris Jones lined up." I'm like, "You're gonna hurt him." One drive later, he's on the bench getting worked on. I'm like, "You're an idiot. Why did you do that?" So like that, I'm not too concerned about Chris Jones. And again, 3 straight years of Super Bowls. He plays in the trenches. I'm not surprised come the 3rd Super Bowl, after all those practices and all that, he started to show like, I'm getting tired, man.
Yeah. I thought he got pushed around against Buffalo though.
I mean, a little bit, I guess. He was a non-factor in that game for the most part. But like, again, he was so dominant to the regular season. And I get you're playing better competition in the playoffs. You know, the people will learn to play you better, and those teams are more equipped to play you better. But again, 3 straight years of Super Bowls.
Yeah.
These guys, they've all started to show we're getting tired, man. Like so many practices. Again, more practices, more games than anyone else has had to endure by far in that time. I guess maybe the Eagles are the other exception because they've made the playoffs in that time. There was another Super Bowl in that time. They could be the exception in terms of competing with how many practices and games you've played in that time. But it's not. It's still not as much. And yeah, these guys are getting older. I'm not worried about this team that much. What I am, excited for is after the Buccaneers Super Bowl, I'm like, there's the formula. That's how you beat him. Get after Pat. Move him around. Make him run to his weak side. Like how Jalen Hurts. If you make him run to a certain side, he is so much less effective. I mean, that's like an obvious thing. You get the quarterback to move, they're less effective, blah, blah, blah. But get Patrick running for his life. I know easier said than done.
Yeah.
Some teams just do not have the personnel.
Yeah, I was going to say.
to get past them. You know, the Chiefs have made a good line, making it harder to do so. But when it's clear as day that this is how you do it, it was clear as day how you beat Tom Brady. Get in his face. Go right up the middle, right at him. Easier said than done. You got to have the personnel to do it. But if you know that's the way to do it, sell out.
Yeah.
You're not going to beat him anyway. Okay, we're going to sell out, and he's going to figure it out. We're going to lose 30-0. Or we're going to lose to him anyway. Might as well sell out and try.
Yes. You know who was the biggest winner of that Super Bowl? Someone who's has no affiliation with either team.
The NFL?
No. Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett won out on that Super Bowl for sure. Because he's sitting there now available. Cleveland has already said they're going to trade for him.
Because everyone wants to go after Patrick Mahomes.
Well, you saw how to beat him. Yes. It's right there. If you can't get pressure with your front four, you're not going to win. Because if you blitz it, he's going to know where it's coming from, right? If you blitz, then you're not having as many guys in the secondary, not only just to cover receivers, but if he gets through the line, then he can run. Philly will get pressure with 4. Everyone will be there waiting for him to scramble. So there's no big open lanes anymore for him. Like he's done against the Bills. He did it against the Bengals. But Myles won. Because anyone who thinks they have to face the Chiefs right now is like, we have to get better at the defensive line. Because that's the only way we're going to beat him. And also, by the way, to go up against Philly, same thing. But yeah, I thought Myles Garrett was one of the biggest winners on that Super Bowl night. Because I think the potential suitors for him got so much higher.
I mean, yeah, if you want to beat the Chiefs. And it's also like, Patrick has said that he doesn't want to run as much. When he was a younger guy, he ran a lot more. And I'm sure they sat him down and talked to him. It was like, Pat, you're going to cost us here if you get hurt. And you know what? Force him to run. Force him to do the thing he doesn't want to do. And if he does it, be willing to take that penalty.
Yeah.
And make it worth your time.
I've always said that.
To take that penalty.
I've always said that one. If he starts running, if he's killing you with his legs, as long as it's early in the game, I would have someone lay him out.
Yeah. And it's not like don't do it in a dirty way.
Yeah.
But like, don't let up.
No.
Just hit him like a man. Hit him like an NFL player.
Yeah, exactly. All right. With that, we are going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about that Myles Garrett, Alex Bregman, and our top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Stick with us, guys. And we are back here at Slo Ur Roll. We'll improvised segment right here as we were talking on the break. You know, Jesse here said he thinks Spags did not have one of his better games.
Oh, no one's going to argue he had a good game.
Thinking that Spags contributed to the loss. And I'm not saying Spags had a great game because he didn't. But I also don't think Spags had anything to do with this loss. No, not at all. But Jesse, I will let you go first and you can talk about it. But I will counter.
Saying he didn't have anything to do with the loss.
I don't think he had anything to do. Listen, he didn't do anything for the win, but I don't think he had anything really to do with the loss.
Listen, I'm fine with his strategy. Take away Saquon. Beat us with the guy. Have the guy that beat us be the guy that can't throw the ball. And you know what? Whatever if he does. Damn if he do. Whatever. But like with that plan in place, and that would have been my plan too if I was Spags, because I, in theory, like my secondary. They didn't do anything to stop Smith or Brown. Where were they? And that's why I blame Spags. That's fine. You did the thing. You stopped Barkley. He had 57 yards on the ground, 2.3 yards per carry. So, like, I will give him credit for that. But, like, and I don't even say, like, 40 points. Like, no, I know, like, there was a pick six. There was another interception that gave him a short field. A lot of that was field goals. You stopped him from getting in the end zone. A lot of field goals. A lot of them were, it didn't matter anymore. But the reason I say this is because, like, every time the Eagles had the ball, they moved the ball. And the one turnover was a terrible turnover by Jalen Hurts that I don't even give the defense really any credit for. I mean, I'll give him some credit because they got in his face and made him throw off his back foot.
Yeah.
But, like, I was still screaming at Jalen, like, you absolute moron for throwing it. Anyway, every time that they had the ball, they were moving the ball. Spags' plan was not good enough to get them for a quick series. And as the game went on, defense is getting tired. Who's controlling the game? It is the Eagles. That's why I blame Spags.
Okay.
It's not all at his feet. He's not the worst. I mean, it's still probably Andy Reid is the one that, like, if we have to put it to one man, because you didn't adjust. The offensive scheme was kind of crap. And these players weren't ready for this.
Yeah, you see, I just don't see it that way. I think Spags did the one thing you have to do when you place the Eagles. You have to take Saquon away. If Jalen can beat us today, then Jalen beats us today, but we have to live with that.
You made Jalen.
I think the Eagles are too good offensively that you can just think that you're going to hold them down. You have to, you're going to give up yards. You're going to give up drives. It's about keeping them out of the end zone and making big plays when you need them. And they got them off the field in the second quarter 2 different times, right, to keep KC in the game. Patrick throws an INT for a pick six. And then when they had the ball again, Patrick, short field, they needed points. They needed something, and they could have still been in the game. Patrick's second interception was when I was like, this is over. That's not on Spags.
I didn't say that was
And
Spags.
then you have, like, when your offense is dominated so bad that the opposing team has more penalty yards than you have offensive yards, and you didn't cross the 50 until the end of the third quarter, I don't know what the DC is supposed to do.
I didn't. Well, that's why
My defense is probably absolutely gassed at this point too. So, like,
get him off the field.
I'm not sitting here being like, oh my God, the whole team let Spags down. He was amazing. But I don't think Spags was the problem at all. I think he was fine. I think he did what he needed to do some of the time. I think in the second quarter, 2 different times, particularly the blitz that got in Jalen Hurts' face. And yes, Jalen made a terrible decision, but Spags called the blitz. It got home when he needed it to, and it made Hurts make that terrible decision. He got a stop when he needed it. They got another stop, and yes, it was a short field. I mean, not a short field. It was a long field for KC, but they still stopped them. Patrick got the ball back again, and Patrick threw that interception.
I said I mostly blame Andy.
I know you do.
But you can't make Jalen Hurts look that good and say you did a good job.
Okay. All right. I think he did a fine job. I think he did an average job.
See, that's not good enough.
If I were to make a list of 10 things that went wrong with this game, Spags is not even on top 10.
I mean, there would be defense in that top 10. Yeah, come on.
Barely.
You got, other than like that one time you got to Jalen and got him to throw a pick, you lost on the line every time to that Eagles front five.
I think it's personnel, but whatever. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk Myles Garrett, who is a free agent. I mean, not a free agent. He has demanded a trade out of Cleveland. Now, he's going to be expensive, but as I mentioned, I think that Super Bowl was such a win for him. Where do you think he goes? I'll give you the first one. Howie's going to make a call because they do lose 2 people on that D-line in Philadelphia. So I guarantee Howie's going to be in on Myles to a certain extent. I don't have it in front of me. I don't know what their cap space is going to look like next year. So obviously that's the wrinkle in this. But man, if you're opposing teams, the last thing you want is for him to go to the Eagles for sure. Particularly anyone in the NFC. I'm looking at you, Detroit.
I mean, there's definitely one that people are talking about that I know he's not going to go to, and I don't want him to go to. That's the New England Patriots.
Yeah, I don't want him here.
No, we have Keon White.
We're too far away,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Nothing against Miles, but we're like 9 players away.
I don't know.
We are.
I don't know. The talk in the league is like they think everyone across the league think the Patriots have had a perfect offseason at this point.
I know.
I don't want him here.
But you still have Josh Allen in your division.
That's fine. I'm not scared of the Bills anymore.
Okay.
But the Bills is one I'm like, I thought maybe they could. That's an okay fit. Von Miller's getting old. They would like to replace that guy. Bills. I don't think it's going to happen though. I've heard like no talks of that.
Yeah.
There's a couple teams close to the Chiefs that I'm like, they could do it. Like the Chargers.
I was about to say the Chargers make a ton of sense to me. They got some people off the books when Jim got there.
But I don't know if that's Jim's style.
Well, he cares about the line.
No, he does. But is he going to go out there and make a big splash trade?
That's true.
I don't remember ever hearing him doing something like that. I think he likes to I like to pick my guys. I like to make them grow. I like to coach them up. Mm-hmm. Harbaugh screams that to me. Mm-hmm. He can surprise me though. That's one of the first teams I thought of. I mean, the Raiders came to mind because they seem to want to be. Think they have that they're right there, and I thought maybe because they want to move on from Crosby, replace him. But I don't really know. I have no idea what the Chargers are doing. When they announced Chip Kelly, I thought it was a joke.
Oh, the Raiders.
What did I just say?
The Chargers.
The Raiders.
Yeah, I talked about that last week. I liked the Pete Carroll hire. I do not like the Chip Kelly thing.
I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a meme. I thought it was like a meme page posted.
Not only that, they made him the highest paid coordinator in the league.
Oh, good for him. I'm very happy for him.
So stupid.
So I have no idea what the Raiders are doing, which puts him on the table.
Yes.
But I know the Lions are ambitious.
I think the Lions make a ton of sense.
That'd be a good one too on the opposite side of Hutchinson.
Yeah.
I wonder what the Vikings are going to do.
And they are now chasing the Eagles. So what is one of the ways that we can get on par with the Eagles? We got to get our defensive line to a place that's close to what Philly is doing. I think Detroit makes a ton of sense. I think right now the Chargers and the Lions make the most sense.
The problem with the Lions is I think they're focused on other things right now. Mm-hmm. Replacing Glenn and Johnson. Mm-hmm. And if the Myles Garrett thing doesn't play out, I don't know. I don't think they're focused on that right now.
Mm-hmm. But the other thing is this is just not a good draft. So that's the other part where Myles Garrett is just a difference maker when you're going to have an off season where there's not going to be a ton of difference makers because this draft is not very good. There's Abdul Carter as a pass rusher. That's about it. The quarterback thing, not very good. There's a lot of running backs in this draft, but I'm telling you from a defensive line standpoint, pass rushers, there's just not many blue chip guys in this draft. So if you think that you can compete next year, but you need a pass rusher, Myles Garrett now becomes the most attractive option because there's just not that many in this draft. So, I think Washington.
He's also only 27?
Yeah.
26?
Washington, I think, could make a call. They're a little too far away, though, probably. But again, when you're in that division, get Myles Garrett. Let's get ourselves close to. I mean, they got wrecked by Saquon Barkley every time they played him because their defensive line's not good enough. So I could see that. I think the Chargers and the Lions are the ones that make the most sense, particularly because they're both in a situation where they're chasing the two teams that we just watched in the Super Bowl on Sunday. So, but I don't want him here in New England.
No, I don't want Abdul Carter here. Either.
No, I know.
Keon White.
White.
I mean, just looking over all the teams here. I mean, there's a couple teams I guess. I'm not saying they really need to prioritize edge rusher, but I'm like, yes, you could fit there. Mm-hmm. Why would Houston not take him?
Because they do already have a pretty good D line. They need to address offensive line. They might need another wide receiver now because Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs both had terrible injuries.
Well, I'm pretty sure
it's Tank Dell's second injury too.
I'm pretty sure Stephon Diggs is actually a free agent anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, That's why they need to address wide receiver then.
I don't know. Just trying
The Texans' defensive line was actually the strength of the team, basically.
I'm sure D'Amico Ryans would love to coach a guy like that.
I'm sure he would, but I think they just have to go in another direction.
Actually, the team that I was thinking about even before we got here.
Okay.
The Washington Commanders.
Well, that's what I said.
Did you say that one?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I mentioned them. Now, the only thing is...
That's my favorite one.
They might be, like, they really want their draft picks because they know they're ahead of schedule this year. But I do understand from the standpoint of, like, you're in the same division as the Eagles.
Yeah.
And Saquon ran all over you.
Myles Garrett.
Like it is the part of their team that is the worst. And there's no one, as I just said, there's no one in this draft that you can really feel that confident is going to be a difference maker at that position. So they could sniff around on this. But the price tag is so high that I don't know if the Commanders want to give up the picks.
You should.
Listen, when you have the guy on a rookie deal, this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, you're almost there.
Mm-hmm.
You were way ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
Like, pounce.
Yeah.
Be the next dynasty. Mm-hmm. This is your opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Rub it in Snyder's face.
I mean, I would be ecstatic if he went there. I wouldn't say it was a bad move.
I wouldn't. I'm not a fan of the Commanders.
I
wouldn't care.
I can just see that. I could just see why maybe they wouldn't. Because, like I said, they probably really want those picks. Because
get over it.
There's a lot. There's D
For
line.
what?
There's offensive line.
What do they want those picks in this not deep
wide
draft?
receiver. Need running back.
They're not even high in the first round.
I know they're not. But Myles Garrett might demand 2 first-round picks for you to go trade for him.
Maybe.
So, like...
All right. In theory, you're going to be good again the coming year, and your pick again will not be that high.
Yeah.
What
I think it should be on the table for them. I'm just saying the only reason why it might not get done. To me, if I'm the Lions or the Chargers, though, I absolutely
I think
go
that's
for
a
this.
silly reason.
What?
We like our picks. Like, no. You are at the position. You have entered the position where you don't have to care so much about those picks. And
well, you've entered the position where you can just be so liberal with your money because your quarterback is on a rookie deal.
But you're also
this is the thing.
Championship
this
game.
This is the most frustrating thing about the Bengals. This is what they squandered. And it's because of the way they're run. I know they don't have the owners don't have that much money. They're just cheap in general. But like this is what the Bengals did wrong. Like you had Joe on the rookie deal. And you had a great wide receiver on the rookie deal in Jamar Chase. Go get aggressive. But they just don't want to make any moves. Then the second it starts to get near the end where they're going to have to pay someone, they start moving off their defensive players. So, no, you have a total point, Howie. Like when you got the guy on the rookie deal and you know you got your quarterback, this is where you get aggressive. You 2 first-round picks, going to have to pay him $90 million. Who the hell cares?
There is almost no picks you could make in the Commanders situation that puts you over the top.
No.
But Myles Garrett is like, I hate to, put one guy, one position, like, whoa, that guy puts you over the top. But when it's a proven commodity, mm-hmm. and maybe the best in the league at it,
mm-hmm.
That's when I can point to, like, that gets you to another level. I cannot point to anyone in this draft, particularly in the position you are in and what you're looking for. And I'm like, that gets you to another level. No. There's no point in sitting on these picks. I mean, there's not no point. Obviously, I'm sure.
But yeah, listen, the odds
they're targeting,
the odds that you will, even with 2 first-round picks, draft a player as good as Myles Garrett is astronomically low.
Especially when you're going to pick 20-something.
Yes.
Like, come on.
Yeah,
not to say it's not possible.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick. But, we have come...
That's quarterback, though.
We've also come a long way.
That, too, in a value. But that's also quarterback.
Sure.
Like, there's so many intangibles to the position. Defensive line, obviously,
are you
work
big?
ethic.
Are you strong?
Yeah, like, work ethic matters. I'm not saying it doesn't. But, like, you do have to be kind of an athletic freak to be great at that position. And you don't become an athletic freak and then from college to the NFL. You either are or you aren't. So, but I don't know. Is that it? Is that it? Is that it for football talk?
Well, I mean,
other than our Darwin and our quarterback ranking, are we gonna go to baseball?
Well, any other maybe random teams in there? And then like,
no, I don't think
Green
so.
Bay.
Green Bay could.
Actually, you could make a case, in my opinion, for
You
any
definitely
team
could.
in the NFC North.
The Bears?
I mean, my biggest case for being the Bears is you are nowhere close to getting anywhere.
Yeah,
so maybe don't waste those picks.
Yeah, I don't think the Bears have, or you could make that case for. Everybody else, though, I agree. Vikings totally could. The Packers probably should, honestly. And Detroit probably should, too. I think this is going to end up being a pretty big bidding war, honestly, actually, for the Browns, for Myles Garrett.
Oh.
Watch them find a way to mess it up because they're the Browns.
Well, here's another one. You know, they tried. It didn't really work out last year because they don't have a coach like Bill Belichick, but the Atlanta Falcons. Looking for that pass rusher.
Yeah.
I know they tried with Judon, but it just...
True.
You don't have Bill coaching them.
True.
In theory, if you have Myles Garrett, you don't need anyone to coach him. He's just that good.
You got a quarterback on a rookie deal now. We don't know how good Penix is yet, but I get you. No, you could. But the problem is if they spent a bunch of money on Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I'm like, how much
So
is
I don't
that?
really know where their cap space is at right now.
Did you hear about Kirk?
Yes.
That he was apparently injured and he still refused and he still bitched about getting benched?
Yeah, I heard that. I don't know.
Help the team, bro.
I'm sure he felt that certain promises were made, but like, this is football, son. Like, if you don't perform.
Also, if you are not physically capable, like that's not, the promise isn't on the table anymore. Go sit down.
Yeah, no. All right. Watch. It would be crazy if the Browns found a way to screw this up because they really are in the driver's seat now. I just keep going through this list right now, and I'm like, jeez, there's a lot of teams that should be real aggressive about trying to get Myles Garrett right now.
And honestly, if the Patriots did, I'd be like, all right. I just don't want it.
I'd rather not.
I'd prefer to stick with the young kid that we can coach up. You know, if you traded Keon White in the package, I'd actually be more happy about it.
If it meant that we could give up less picks, though.
Well, yeah, less picks, and it's like, okay, we don't have him just sitting behind there wasting his time.
Yeah, no, I get you. All right, Jesse.
Hey.
I'll get you, Yawkey Way Report writer, started on this one.
Okay.
Alex Bregman. I know, you're not happy.
I'm not happy.
Why?
What's the point?
He has signed a 3-year deal with $120 million with the Boston Red Sox. So we have actually spent some money for once.
I'll start with the positive.
Okay.
He has an opt-out after 2025 and 2026. So if it's not working out here, he'll just be like, well, peace. And it's like, okay, good. If it was 2 years, I'd feel a little bit better. I was kind of hoping just like, just throw him a boatload of money for 1 year, and then we'll talk later. And I hope we don't actually talk later. I don't want, was he 30?
I think he's 30.
Just 30?
I think so.
That's actually...
I'll look it up right now.
Maybe a little more troubling.
Okay.
Because he started to fall off.
He has. I'm not going to lie.
And it's like, okay, playing ball with the monster, that could help. He's got great stats at Fenway, although he's not going to face Red Sox pitching anymore. that doesn't help. But he does play. He does love to play volley with that green monster very well. So yeah, right. He should get a bump. Just playing in that stadium, he should get a bump.
Yeah, he's 30.
Wise. I guess he's not quite as old as I thought he was, although he's falling fast. That's not concerning, or that is concerning. I was scared that it was going to be 5 to 6 years.
Oh, he will be 31 by the time the season starts.
Whatever. I don't really care about the figures. It's not my money. There's no cap. And I know they have boatloads of cash. So like, $40 million. Like, that's overpaying. Like, yes, it is, but I don't care. It's baseball. It's Major League Baseball, and these are the Red Sox. That is actually one of the positives. John Henry and some money. Look at that. I just don't think it'll matter. The infield fielding will get better. He'll play some volley with that wall. But, like, he's not a guy that, like, that's a leader in the locker room. Love to have that guy. I don't know. He's not. He's not, like, this rah-rah guy. Actually kind of a bitch. And, like, he's not so talented. I'm like, Bregman, that gets us to another level. It does not really.
Okay.
It does very little to move the needle.
We have very different views of this. The fact that it's a 3-year deal with an opt-out makes me love this deal now. He's a right-handed bat who can play third base. We can have DH Devers if we need to.
But he's not.
I mean, is Alex going to learn how to play second potentially? I don't know what they're going to do with the positioning. You'd think it's back on the table that Yoshida or Abreu gets moved, but it's a impact right-handed bat, which is what the Sox needed. It gives us a bump defensively at either second or third because our second base play this year was awful. Yeah. So even if they put him at second, I guarantee he would be better defensively than what they had. I love it. I honestly love everything about the deal. I'm really surprised how much you don't like it. It's only 3 years. There's an opt-out. He hit 26 homers last year. I know the average was down, a few more strikeouts than usual. I think a change of scenery might help reunite the career a little bit. It's not all on his shoulders like it kind of felt like it was at the end of his time in Houston. It was just kind of him, Alvarez, and Altuve. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm surprised you don't like it.
Where
right-handed bat like we needed. I love it. I love everything about it. And then obviously the biggest thing I love is just John Henry's trying again. We're trying at least.
There was other ways.
I mean, you said it.
There
Well,
was
who
better
was
ways
still
to
out
try.
there for us to get?
There was people before.
I know.
We could have not been in this situation.
No, I get that. If you told me, would you rather have Bregman or Teoscar, I actually would say I'd rather have Teoscar.
Well, yeah. I'd rather Arenado.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
That is, Arenado has grown up a lot in his time in St. Louis. That's another guy that is tremendous defense.
I mean, he's going to be way cheaper than Bregman because he's really fallen off.
Well, that's the thing. He can get rejuvenated by the wall,
That's true.
by the left field wall, and he's still got a lot to give in the field. He is older and has matured quite a bit, I feel, in St. Louis. And I don't know.
I'm going to give him a pass for even what happened in Colorado. I just think he was trying to get himself out of there.
Well, no,
Which I completely understand why.
Yes, but he was a younger man at the time, and
That too,
I understand that a little bit more. But I mean, I've seen some real leaps and bounds in his character, his personality.
Okay.
And
he'd be cheaper. You think you would get roughly similar production for a significantly cheaper price?
Yeah.
With Nolan.
Yeah.
Listen, if they had brought Arenado, I wouldn't have been upset about it. I specifically wanted Nolan. But I'm happy.
Bregman is more.
But I'm happy also with what it signals.
Bregman's more flexible in the field, though.
He is, for sure.
Like Arenado would probably have to be third.
Yes.
Which makes Devers would have to be DH.
Which
probably
means
then have to trade Yoshida.
Yes.
Because right now the lineup could be. I mean, Bregman came up. He was not originally a third baseman.
He was a shortstop.
Yeah. So he could play, Story and Bregman will be the middle infield. Who will play where? They could mix and match.
I'm sure it'll be Story at short and Bregman at second.
That's probably what they hope. But I mean, if Bregman cannot learn second, like he's Gavin Lux or something, you just put him back at short, and we know Story can play second just fine. So that is better for Bregman. He's a little more flexible in the infield and makes a little more flexibility in the lineup, and doesn't force Yoshida out. But I kind of want to trade Yoshida anyway.
I know.
I want to trade him. I like Yoshida.
Yeah.
I've liked his production.
Yeah, he's just a terrible fit for this team.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to, and I've said that for a long time. I like Yoshida.
You know, he'd be fantastic in
Where?
He'd be an insanely good Yankee.
Oh, yes, he would.
Like that right field is perfect for him
No, I know.
to hit.
Yes.
He can't field. It's fine. He can't field anywhere.
No, he can't.
But yeah, I don't. It's all right. The good things are John Henry spent some money, but he was already given that vibe anyway. And I said, like, if you don't spend money this year and you suck, you have no choice. And, he doesn't act. He actually has a choice. It's his money. But like, the fans would be so rabid. It's like, well, I gotta buy somebody, and I'd rather buy somebody next year, probably early, who have more value than Bregman.
Well, for what we reached. You were all about them spending money earlier, but those guys are gone now.
Yeah.
Jack Flaherty's gone. Teoscar's gone.
Yeah. I mean, Corbin Burns is gone. But
we didn't get Soto.
Yeah, there's all these guys. Snell was on the market. All these guys, and like they were all gone. And now we're. It's not dumpster diving. It's not that bad. But like Bregman.
Well, who'd we get for pitching? We got Walker Buehler and somebody else.
Crochet.
Crochet, thank you. That's what we got.
And I like that move. I like that move.
Though it wasn't money that was trading for someone who's not getting that much money.
Which I'm fine with that also. Like, I don't necessarily need you to make a splash in free agency. Make a splash in just the names you bring in. And if it's a trade, great. I'm fine with that. Especially since, like, the farm system is so, like, we have a great farm system. But it's kind of bloated. Like, we have guys right behind guys. Like, can't have all of you. You're not all going to fit on this team. Trade some of them away.
Yeah.
And also, they're not a sure thing anyway. Trade some of them away.
No, I agree. But they might do that during the season.
Yeah.
If they're in contention and you have a specific need, which in some ways I kind of like that more. But
we'll see. We'll see.
But yeah, I'm surprised. I knew you didn't love Bregman. I knew you didn't want to have him that much. And again, it wasn't my first choice. I would have rather have had Teoscar. I understand the point about Nolan. I do think with that wall, with this ballpark, and Nolan, his average and his other numbers stayed pretty good actually last year. He's really lost the power. But again, Fenway, short wall, would help him. So I get that, but I just like what it signals to, which is maybe we're starting to get serious again about spending real money.
See that picture?
And again, if it was a 6-year deal, I would not be happy about this. But
see that picture of John Henry?
No.
Smoking the cigar?
No.
Yo, it's funny.
Really?
It's on my X page.
I'll go look after the show.
It's funny.
Okay. All right. So with that little baseball talk, it's back to football. And I've been looking forward to this. I wanted to do this during the season. You made the point. Let's just wait for the season to be over to do this. But now here it is. This is our top 10 quarterbacks list right now. I wanted to do it before the season because I was like, there's so many guys who have left. Jalen Hurts was coming off a down year. It's like if you were to make this list right now, it'd be really hard. It's still hard, but I don't think it's quite as hard as it was. So anyway, let's start things out with, and again, this is not exactly what our list was. We had a few differences. We're having to come to some conclusions.
We had 9 out of the 10 same people though.
Yeah, well, actually we did. So I'll throw you a bone because you didn't even have this guy on your list at all.
Oh.
But you said you had to put him in because I had him higher on the list. So we'll start with number 10, Jalen Hurts. Because at times during the season, we thought he was the problem. At times last year, particularly, I thought he was the problem from an in-game standpoint. But listen, the guy has played outstanding now in back-to-back playoffs and in back-to-back, not back-to-back, but in 2 Super Bowls, he's played absolutely outstanding. He's played outstanding throughout the playoffs. He fits this roster really good because he throws that deep ball well to A.J. Brown. He can run himself, which gives you a dual threat at the running back, at the run game position between Hurts and Saquon. The tush push is unstoppable. I also think he's a guy kind of like Dak a little bit, where I like his intangibles more than his actual physical tools. His personality, I do think, is perfect for Philly because it's an insane place. It's an insane building. His coach is super emotional. And Jalen might be the most calmest guy you'll ever see. Like, he won the Super Bowl, and yes, he was clearly happy, but you would think he just won a regular season game when he did the interview. He's so damn calm. There is no roller coaster at all with him. And I think that's incredibly valuable in what is just a building that is filled with a lot of everything, I would say. From Howie to Sirianni to some of the players. It is a wild emotional roller coaster. And he is the same guy all the time. And I do think that's super valuable. Particularly for this position because you have to be a leader. So Jalen Hurts at number 10.
I do think maybe his most his best attribute is his poise.
Okay. No, for sure.
Yeah. Which, could lead into a different conversation of like, that could be a problem. But, I mean, he's only, the Super Bowl winning quarterback is only number 10.
Yes.
That's because you have to be able to throw more than 45 yards to reach the top 9. Yeah. The exception being Lamar Jackson because he's won MVPs.
Well, also he's a more dynamic athlete than Hurts. Hurts is a good athlete, but Lamar is on another level. Like Lamar on the open field is one of the best guys in all of football. We're not even talking about quarterbacks, just all of football. All right, and I had Jalen higher than you. I had Jalen all the way at 7.
Fun fact: I didn't have Jalen Hurts on my list.
I know I said that already. Yeah. So when we put these guys in, remember I had Jalen higher.
You would have been 11.
Okay.
On my list.
To me, Jared Goff's 11, but okay. Kyler Murray's 12. All right. At number 9, we both had him 10 on our list, but I threw you a bone. Jordan Love. I want to hear from you. Why do you have him here?
Okay. This is a guy only a couple years ago everyone was making fun of. They're like, this guy's not an NFL quarterback. No shot. All his life only exists to annoy Aaron Rodgers. But you know what? He's just Aaron Rodgers. That behaves and is a nice guy. He's very talented. He has shown he's very talented. We saw a little bit this year of he can be a little reckless, but he's shown he is a talented, quality NFL quarterback. At the end of last season, which I wanted mostly to just be emphasis on like the current. What are we seeing today of these with ranking these guys? But you cannot deny how the insane run Jordan Love went on to end last season going into last year's playoff. And although he dipped a little bit this year, again, towards the end of the season, where it started to matter more, where the games were bigger, he locked in. And again, back to some more poise with these young kids. Great poise from Jordan Love. He can, again, be reckless, make some mistakes, but he doesn't let it get so into his own head. And he is still very talented. He wins games. And he's just a good kid back
he
there.
played poorly in the playoff, but hey, listen, Patrick played awful against this team too. So what are we going to say? I can't. It's hard to knock Jordan Love to be like, well, you played bad against this team when the reigning Super Bowl champ got blown out in a Super Bowl by this team. It's also
not to say that it shouldn't be emphasis, because this is not like the MVP award where we're ranking these guys where it only matters on what you did in the regular season. No, I wanted to save this because I want these huge pressure moments going up against each other to really gauge them and where they should rank. But one game, Jordan Love has shown that he actually is a damn fine quarterback in this league. He is a very talented guy in a multitude of ways. Well, his arm is good.
The big reason
he can move.
I struggled putting him in my top 10 because he can be so inconsistent. Eventually, I put him at 10 in my list simply because when he is at his highest level, he's actually as good as anyone in the league.
As anyone, I don't quite know, but
I think he's as good as anyone in the league.
But when he is
his athleticism, his arm strength, his playmaking ability, he's not as good as those guys because he's not as consistent. But when he's on, I do think his ceiling is as high as just about anybody. All right.
I'm not quite that extreme about it, but yes, when he's on, he is one of the better quarterbacks.
At number 8, you have him way higher than I do. Not way higher. You had him at 7. I had him at 9. I'm going to put...
It's perfect. He settled at 8.
Yeah. So I'm going to go Baker Mayfield at number 8. He's a bit of a gunslinger.
Could be high if he didn't try to kill everybody.
He throws a lot of hospital balls for my taste. But at the same time, he kept Tampa in most of these games. Tampa had some big wins, actually, against good teams. He's a little bit of everything. He has got a powerful enough arm to push the ball down the field. Can be pretty accurate. Not great size, but he's not a stationary target. And I don't know. In big moments, he's got that bravado to get the team going. He's played very well the last 2 years. There's no doubt about it. People wanted to leave Tampa for dead last year. He got them into the playoffs. He beat Philly in the playoffs. He deserves to be here in the top 10. I would, if Jordan could just be a little bit more consistent, I'd put him above him. I would take a debate. Honestly, when it comes to quarterback stuff, I like tiers better, but rankings is the easiest thing to do. But Baker Mayfield at number 8. Number 7.
I want to say a little bit about Baker.
Yeah.
He is the jack of all trades quarterback.
Yes.
And the master of none.
Okay.
He can do...
That's a good way to point.
He can do everything. There's always someone in the league that can do everything you point out better than him. But I don't think there's almost any quarterback across the league that is just consistently good at everything, like as the way Baker Mayfield is. Now, I think the worst thing about him is the hospital balls, sometimes his accuracy, but he generally gives his receivers a chance. So it's not so reckless.
And he's such a good see it, let it rip.
Yeah.
You know, some guys, they hold on to the ball. They don't trust themselves. They don't trust what they're like. Baker gets it. He lets it rip.
Yeah.
Which matters. That matters a lot. All right. Number 7. I had him at 8. You had him at 8 too, but obviously because of guys that we had to move up and down.
I had Baker ahead of him.
I know you did. I do not have Baker ahead of him. And that is a Jaden Daniels, son.
Yeah.
Listen, I honestly feel bad having to put a rookie in this because I don't want to. But he was so damn good.
Yeah.
He was so damn good in the playoffs. He also, other than Matthew Stafford, he played just fine against the Eagles in the playoffs. He really is outstanding. And they ask him to do a lot. They go for it on 4th downs. They have to throw the ball a lot, particularly as the season went on. They had to throw the ball more and more because Brian Robinson lost it and started fumbling too. They had some on-line injuries that affected their run game. They asked Jaden to be the center point of the run game and throw the ball a ton. There were plenty of games he threw the ball 35, 40 times and they won. He had multiple fourth quarter comebacks. This roster is not that good. The offensive line is still a work in progress. They have one real wide receiver. Their tight end is 37 years old.
But he still had something to give.
He had
more
something
than Travis Kelce has to give.
He put in more effort, it seems. But he's certainly not a dynamic player by any means. This was outstanding. Just an outstanding season by Jaden. And again, there's no when Dak did it with the Cowboys, it was clearly the run game. It was the roster. Not trying to take anything away from Dak. He didn't lose games. This is on Jaden. They put so much on Jaden Daniels in these games. It's very obvious if you watch. So Jaden Daniels at number 7. I don't know if you want to say anything.
Well, I mean, if we did this list only regular season, I probably wouldn't have had him on the list.
Oh, I wouldn't have either.
And I might have even put him one behind Drake May. Because I thought, from what I saw during the regular season, because Jaden Daniels, he didn't show me he showed me some spectacular things. I don't want to say that. But he didn't show me this other level that I saw from him that I saw in the playoffs. But Drake May, each and every week, because of who he had to play with on his own team, almost had to reach for that other level from the drop every single game. And he, for the most part, was able to do it. So I was just seeing more from Drake May week in and week out that Jaden Daniels simply did not have to do at the time. Then we had playoffs. And one of the main reasons I said I wanted to at least wait for the playoffs to make this list is because watching Jaden Daniels sitting on the sidelines without a care in the world was a sight. Because he's in the middle of a playoff game, his first couple of his life. I realize he did it in college, but this is NFL. It's supposed to be another level. Looking on the other side of the field where
his defense can't stop anything.
Well, and it's also, you're looking on the other side of the field where you're playing teams that are supposed to be head and shoulders way better than you. You're supposed to get smoked by those Lions. And he's sitting on the bench without a care in the world. And he walked out on the field and just, I'm just going to light him up. And walked back to the sidelines like I just didn't just do that. That sold me on oh wow, Jaden effing Daniels, dude. His
poise was insane, and he had to do a lot in that high scoring, crazy game against the Lions. I think he showed plenty of good stuff in the regular season. The thing is, he went through a 3 or 4 week lull, kind of in the middle where he hit the rookie wall. Part of it was also he was injured. He had a rib injury, then he had a leg injury. So there was, that was the first Eagle game and the Steeler game. But as soon as he got healthy again, he was absolutely dynamic. Won some big games late in the season to make sure Washington could make the playoffs. So yes. At number 6. Justin Herbert. I don't know if you want to talk about this.
Everyone's least favorite quarterback for some reason.
A lot of people's.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm happy he had the year that he did. People can argue that it didn't end well.
It did not. That was rough.
It ended very ugly, and that knocked him down a couple pegs. He could have been higher, but again, we wanted to see the playoffs. He didn't fare well. But I was very happy for Justin Herbert this year because he gets so much crap that he does not deserve. Mm-hmm. He's a very talented QB. Mm-hmm. He's very good at what he does.
Yeah.
He was not playing with anybody.
No.
He despite Johnston's best effort, Herbert balled out this year. Mm-hmm. And Lad McConkey was a big part of that, his coming out party, fixing the line a little bit, very much helped. But that just allowed Justin Herbert to show us what some of us knew, that he is elite.
Elite, for sure.
Elite.
If we were making this in a tiers list, I'd have tier 1, a couple of guys just ahead of Justin, and Justin would be the very top of the tier 2. Most of the time he was in tier 1 for me, but that playoff performance was pretty awful. But at the same time, he's not throwing at anybody this year other than rookie Lad McConkey. Quentin Johnson is a bust who he had to force to get some sort of production out of this year. And their running back was J.K. Dobbins, who's older, who's had his knee ripped up multiple times. This team had 4 wins last year.
Yeah.
4 or 5, whatever it was. They were picking 5th overall. People forget that. And they lost Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. So not only were they bad last year, he lost his 2 most dependable, reliable targets. Now, they weren't dependable in the sense that they got hurt a lot, but those were the guys he had played with his whole NFL career.
Austin Eckler left.
Yeah.
Good catching back.
He had to start everything from scratch. All right, at number 5, you had him higher than me. I put him here because, once again, he was the problem in the playoffs. And I know he turned it back around. They made a comeback on Buffalo. I thought a lot of that was spearheaded by Derrick Henry, though. Lamar Jackson. I don't care about the regular season stats anymore. We're past this. You have 2 MVPs. We know that you can light it up in the regular season. If you're elite now, which you're in the top 5 in the entire league, you're tier 1, son. You need to get... you don't have to beat Patrick even. You don't have to win a Super Bowl. But you need to not be the problem in the playoffs. And he had 2 turnovers in the first half in that Buffalo game that kind of ended the game in a way. And I know they came back, but Buffalo came into that game clearly knowing we just got to play clean football and we'll probably win because Lamar will give us something. He gave him 2 turnovers. So Lamar at number 5.
This is a word we've said a lot in this past 10 minutes, but there's probably no position in sports where poise matters than maybe the quarterback position. And he has none of that.
No. At least not in big games, he doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, that's where it matters the most.
Yeah.
That's where you need to be the most poised. And he's got none of it.
No, he gets frantic. He makes unforced errors. The fumble was awful.
It doesn't matter how talented you are. If you, in a big situation, you don't know how to use that talent, what's it worth?
Yeah. His interception and his fumble were both awful.
Fumble was hilarious.
I know.
But just put the ball down.
Yeah, completely unforced. Number 4, I have Matthew Stafford. Guys, he had 1 wide receiver this year. They were wrecked to hell and back in the beginning of the season. He's the only one in this playoffs that almost beat the Eagles. They were driving down the field to win that game. And yes, the D-line eventually made a play, Jalen Carter. Hell, if they weren't playing in the snow and his team doesn't fumble a bunch of times because they're from Los Angeles and they have a hard time in those conditions, maybe he even wins this game. But literally the only one who put up a good fight against the Eagles and almost won the game. And 1 wide receiver, Cooper Kupp is completely toast. Higbee was hurt most of the year, got them in the playoffs, won the division. He's absolutely outstanding, guys. And he's got an arm that's better than just about anyone in the league. He doesn't run around, but he still has the athleticism that he was eluding guys within the pocket still, but eluding guys in the Eagles game. He's absolutely outstanding. And he's way better in the playoffs than Lamar Jackson, and it's not even close. So there are very few guys, especially if you're telling me I need to win a playoff game, I'm taking over Matthew Stafford. So, and I know he throws some picks. I get that. Most of them are in the regular season. And again, he throws the ball so hard and so powerful that listen, life's not fair. He can get away with stuff that other people can't. But, yeah.
Maybe my most overrated quarterback in the league.
Why do you think that? You say overrated, and you still had him ranked 6th. But let me ask you a question.
That we are dealing with in
if you had to
NFL.
win a playoff game, Would you rather have Lamar Jackson or Matthew Stafford?
That's not fair.
What?
That's not fair.
How is that not fair?
I'd almost rather have any quarterback in the league than Lamar Jackson.
Well, then how can you have Lamar ranked ahead of him?
Because Lamar really balls out in the regular season. When it doesn't matter that much, my God, does that man put up numbers?
Whatever. Number 3, Jesse, you tell us number 3. Because this is your baby here at the job.
No, it's not.
No, like why it flipped.
Oh.
So tell us number 3.
Okay, it's the NFL MVP.
Yeah.
Josh Allen, the best player in the league. Because one, well, he can't beat a guy that we haven't said yet on this list in the playoffs. That's a big reason. Mm-hmm. Does not beat that guy. And he himself can be a bit reckless at times. Now, as he's gotten older, it's been clean. I feel like this year, for the most part, it was clean. Although he still does love his arm punts, which, like, that's still an interception, guys. That's still an interception. But also the 2 guys ahead of him are, which we won't spoil, but I'm sure if you are just in the know in any way, you could at least guess them.
Yeah.
One of them he can't beat in the playoffs time and time again, and the other one just absolutely balled out, and statistically is better than him in every single way, actually.
And has beat him in the playoffs also.
He did.
Yeah, actually, did he beat him twice?
I don't think so.
Just the one time?
I don't
Okay.
think so.
Kind of dominated him, though, in the playoffs.
Yeah. And Sean McDermott allowed Zach Taylor to look like a good coach that one week. But listen, Josh is great. He's definitely a top 3 quarterback in this league. You could make the case he was number 1. You know, he won MVP, and I don't think he was not deserving of it. I just think there's someone out there who was slightly more deserving if we're actually going to go to the letter of the law with MVP, most valuable player. But, I mean, Josh is outstanding. He's great at everything he does. It's the best player in the league this year, Joe Burrow. Like, what else can I say then? Like, he led the league in all quarterback stats. He didn't win MVP because his defense sucked. Yeah. Make that make sense to me, people. Joe Burrow.
He almost got him in the playoffs still, by the way.
He almost did.
Yeah.
Week one against the Patriots. So much changes across the league if that game ended differently. We don't have to watch Denver suck in the playoffs. Yeah. Patriots get the number 1 pick. But make it make sense that Joe Burrow did not win an individual player award because his team was not that good. How does that make any sense? Best statistical quarterback across the spectrum, all the stats. It's Joe. He led them all. Yeah, but he didn't make the playoffs.
No run game. I believe he was pressured on 47% of his dropbacks this year, and he still put up the numbers that he did.
Yeah,
absolutely insane.
Which, like, I know,
and gave them a fighting chance.
He played from behind every game, so they had to throw. But my God, he was so efficient.
Well, yeah, but also his interception ratio is way low.
Yeah, he was.
Which usually,
so
when you're forced to do that,
efficient.
you're also going to turn the football over. He didn't. And again, maybe he was playing from behind a lot, but it's not like it was garbage time. They were usually got back into the games.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost that OT game late in the year. What the hell was Zach Taylor doing with the time management? He went just throwing haymakers with Jaden Daniels in the Washington game on the Monday night. Like, it's not. This is why I'm having a hard time evaluating Drake May. To me, not that I don't think he's really good, but like people I feel are putting him a little higher than he needs to be because still a lot of his best production did come in garbage time when it was over. Now he played well usually for the first drive when it's scripted, which means something though because at least he was good when the game mattered. It's just then there was no talent around him. But then when he put up some of his more special plays or stat pad, the game was over. So that's why I have a hard time with the Drake May one. Though as a rookie, I think he was very good as a rookie. But like Joe's games, they might have been behind a lot, but they all mattered. They still mattered. They weren't getting their doors blown off, game over, prevent defense. Like that wasn't happening.
They were like what, 4-8, I think, and they only got eliminated from the playoffs because in the final week they didn't get the losses from other teams that they needed.
Yes.
But like when they needed to win out to keep themselves alive, Joe Burrow did it, son.
Except for when they lost to Denver, which was not his fault.
Oh yeah,
Zach Taylor screwing up the clock. And then his kicker whiffing on that chip shot field goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Trust me, I know.
Joe.
I lost fucking money on that. I was so fucking mad. was actually the maddest I was all NFL season. I'm like, wow, I had 2 missed kicks for why I'm now going to lose this bet. Because then Denver missed the kick too. So then Denver was like, well, we're not running the kicker back out here. We're going to try and score a touchdown now. Even though a field goal would have won the game. Mm-hmm. I was so mad. All right, number 1. Come on. It's Patrick Mahomes. Even though he was 16th this year in quarterback ranking, QBR and all that, blah, 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 blah. Listen, until the people in the AFC can beat him in playoff games, until he's not in the Super Bowl all the time, he's number 1. He is. I told you this. Peyton Manning had better statistical years than Tom Brady. That didn't mean that Peyton was better than Tom. Right? It's the same here. Until someone's actually able to knock him off, he has to be the number 1 quarterback in the league. He's been to 5 Super Bowls, and he's only been playing for like 7 years. Like 7 or 8, whatever it is. Like,
I think it was 7 because Patriots, his first starting year, and then the year the Bengals went.
So I don't know if there's a lot more to say other than this. Because, again, I can't go through the season. They won a bunch of one-score games on flukes. His numbers weren't that great. Now, obviously, part of that is the roster is not as good. Rashee Rice went down. Travis Kelce is getting old. But, I mean, do you have any thoughts on this? Because, listen, until you beat him, he's number 1.
I mean, I personally, when I made my list.
I know you had him at 3.
Yes, behind Joe and Josh. And I was, putting a lot of emphasis on what I saw this year from these guys. And if you kind of scrambled them all up on different teams, that Joe and Josh would come out ahead of Pat. But I do understand what you're saying. Until anyone can actually knock this man off, how could you truly say definitively that this guy is better than him? Well, he can't beat him. And I understand this is a team game. Some people put more emphasis on the wins with QB stats than others. I'm kind of in the middle. I have to individually games I won that one. Yeah, that was more of a team effort. But I get it that if you can't beat the man, how can you say you're better than him?
Exactly. So, yep, that's my thing. All right.
But Joe is.
All right. Darwin Award. Let's go. This week's Darwin Award winner is sports media.
Okay.
Everyone who I know you didn't know which one I was going to do. Everyone who so prematurely all season long into the playoffs, everything wanted to have this stupid Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes debate. Oh my gosh. If Pat wins, we have a new GOAT. Well, even if he had one, I think it would have been pretty dumb. Because like I said, there's plenty of things Tom didn't. There's plenty of things that Tom did that Pat still hasn't done yet. Just because Pat has one thing that Tom didn't do does not mean that he's magically better now.
But
boy, not only can we not have the debate about it right now, we can no longer have the debate for the next 6 years. 6 to 7 years. Because at this point now, Patrick has to win as many Super Bowls as Tom. Because he has been embarrassed and blown out in 2 damn Super Bowls.
Well, if Pat only wins 7, I'm still going to give it to Tom.
I said before we can even have the conversation anymore.
Okay. Okay.
This is not, you can't even have this talk anymore for a long time.
Yes.
It ended.
Yes.
It ended Sunday night.
Also, I never want to hear Bill and Andy Reid's name together. I really don't want to hear Gronk and Travis Kelce's name.
Well, that one always annoys me.
Ever again.
Yeah.
I had an opening rant about that.
Yeah, I know you did.
About how and I said some stats, but I was this is not about stats. Like the Brady one, this is not about stats. I have eyes. I watch Gronk play. Travis Kelce has never come close to that level.
No. And Travis, there's a whole part of the game Gronk can do that Travis can't.
I don't even care. Gronk was an unstoppable force in the league, unlike anything I've ever seen across sports, period. Unstoppable.
Yeah. But the Pat...
Barry Bonds when he was to the height of his cheating.
Yeah.
We just got to walk him, dude.
But guys at least there are some people who at least engaged in the debate, but then there was those media members who were absolutely, Pat's better than him. Nick Wright, I'm looking at you. You guys have all embarrassed yourselves on a new level because not only was your argument wrong, it went from you trying to claim he was better to now a point where the general public and media have all come together to be yeah, this debate is over. And it's not, you can't even bring it back for a very, very long time. This whole conversation is dead.
How many
Dead and gone.
How many of these media members do you think actually believed what they were saying?
Nick Wright.
Okay.
Or
percentage-wise.
Not to get political, but there were a few that I think believed what they were saying for a very specific reason.
Okay.
You know what?
Yeah,
you know what that is.
Yes, I do. But those people should not be taken seriously.
No, they shouldn't be on. I mean, listen, they bang all their coworkers. And
Do you think?
I'm just saying that show is the most guilty of that sort of. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, the media they put emphasis on viewership over being correct.
Yes.
So they will forego saying the correct thing for saying the thing that will get people to watch.
True.
And in the NFL,
but I do think there has to be a line. And actually, I don't even say.
Listen, they've already crossed that line.
But I would say I'm not even talking about it. Like, if you get too dumb, you will actually ruin your career. Like Rob Parker's joke. Like Rob Parker doesn't Parker doesn't have a job anymore.
Yes.
Skip Bayless eventually now doesn't have a job anymore.
Yes.
So you can't just think just because this gets me views, I can just be wrong all the time.
But
there is a line where like it gets to a point where we are no longer going to take you seriously.
Unless you all say it. In which case we have no choice.
Well, yeah.
And that's why, so for the NFL, it took them a long time to realize this. Goodell 100% did not realize this at first, but Tom Brady made them boatloads of cash.
Oh, yeah.
And although they thought at first, they're like, oh man, if the Patriots keep winning, we're going to lose money because no one's going to watch because it's always going to be the Patriots. But in reality, that was that Super Bowl that just happened, that everyone was going to boycott and that no one wanted to watch Philly and no one wanted to watch KC. Well, it was the most watched Super Bowl of all time.
Yeah.
People, and of course the media was scared when Tom Brady was on his way out. Like, we are about to lose so much money, so much viewership. We need to keep this conversation going. Patrick's the GOAT. You are now Tom Brady's old news. You are currently watching the best to ever do it. Why would you stop watching? People watch because of Tom. People want to watch the best. So you scream in everyone's face, nope, this is the best. This is the best you've ever seen. You've never seen anything like this. And in some ways, sure, I used to watch a bunch of old, slow white men be pocket passers. Look at all these guys that move the pocket now. You have to prop up Pat because like viewership will watch him. He's the best. You have to watch him. And people will just watch because they are so good. They want to watch them get taken down, blah, 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 blah. But from the media perspective, you were afraid you were going to lose some viewership.
Okay, that makes sense.
You have to watch.
But you all still look stupid today.
Yes.
Particularly the ones who decided to go, again, there is one thing where you just engaged in the conversation. There was the ones that wanted to hop on it, full board, absolutely. This isn't even a conversation. Pat is the best, I think. He is better than Tom. And if this happens, he's definitely better than Tom. Or at least, if we want to have the fun topic and have but there were media members literally going all in on the topic, particularly Nick.
Listen, I believe some of them believed it, but I know a lot of them said it for the sake of, I need to keep viewership. We need to make sure people keep watching.
No, I get you. All right, so Darwin to sports media, and that has been it for Slo Ur Roll this week. Have a great rest of your week, ladies and gentlemen.